Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling a question that is both incredibly simple and mind-bogglingly complex. How do we actually measure time? It seems obvious, right? You just look at a clock. But have you ever stopped to think about what that clock is really doing? What are we measuring against? Stick around, because we're about to go on a journey from ancient sun worshippers to quantum physics to uncover the secrets of the tick-tock. Let's start at the very beginning. For our earliest ancestors, the most reliable clocks were massive, celestial, and completely free. I'm talking about the sun, the moon, and the stars. The most basic unit of time was the day, marked by the repeating cycle of sunrise and sunset. This cycle of light and dark was fundamental to survival. It told them when to hunt, when to gather, and when to rest. Then, they noticed another pattern. The moon went through its phases, from new moon to full moon and back again, roughly every 29.5 days. This became the basis for the month. And as they watched the seasons change, they observed that the sun's position in the sky at sunrise and sunset shifted in a predictable, year-long cycle. This gave us the year, crucial for knowing when to plant crops and when to harvest. So, our first calendars were essentially astronomical charts. Early civilizations like the Egyptians and Mesopotamians were expert astronomers, creating detailed calendars based on these celestial movements. But a whole day is a long time. What if you needed to meet someone in the middle of the day? Saying let us meet sometime after the sun is high in the sky is a bit vague. Humans needed a way to chop the day into smaller pieces. One of the first inventions to do this was the sundial. The concept is simple. A stick or pillar, called an gnomon, casts a shadow. As the sun moves across the sky, the shadow moves too, pointing to different marks that represent hours. The ancient Egyptians had obelisks that functioned as massive sundials, and the Romans had portable ones. But sundials have a pretty big flaw. What do you do at night? Or on a cloudy day? You're out of luck. This limitation spurred the invention of new timekeeping devices that didn't rely on the sun. Enter the water clock, or clepsydra. These were a huge leap forward. A typical water clock involved a container filled with water that was allowed to drip out at a constant rate. By marking levels on the inside of the container, or on a vessel that collected the dripping water, you could measure the passage of time, day or night. The Greeks and Romans refined these, creating complex mechanisms that were the most accurate timekeepers for over 1,000 years. There were also sandglasses, or hourglasses, which worked on a similar principle of a substance flowing at a steady rate. And let's not forget candle clocks, where you'd burn a candle marked with lines, with each section representing a certain amount of time. These methods were clever, but they still weren't perfectly precise. Water flow can change with temperature, and making two candles burn at exactly the same rate is tricky. The real revolution in timekeeping didn't happen until the 17th century, with the invention of the pendulum clock. The story goes that a young Galileo Galilei was sitting in a cathedral and noticed a chandelier swinging back and forth. Using his own pulse, he timed the swings and discovered something amazing. No matter how wide the swing, the time it took to complete one full swing was always the same. This principle, called isochronism, is the secret behind the pendulum. A Dutch scientist named Christian Huygens took Galileo's discovery and, in 1656, built the first pendulum clock. This was a game-changer. Suddenly, timekeeping accuracy jumped from being off by maybe 15 minutes a day to just a few seconds. The pendulum provided a reliable, regular beat to regulate the clock's gears. This new precision was vital for science and navigation. Sailors, for instance, needed accurate clocks to determine their longitude at sea, a problem that had plagued mariners for centuries. The pendulum clock was great, but you can't exactly put a giant swinging weight in your pocket. The quest for portability led to the development of the balance wheel and the hairspring. This mechanism essentially miniaturized the regulatory function of the pendulum. Instead of a back-and-forth swing, you have a wheel that oscillates back and forth, controlled by a tiny coiled spring. This innovation paved the way for pocket watches and eventually, wristwatches. For the next few centuries, mechanical watches became smaller, more accurate, and more accessible. They were wonders of engineering, intricate little machines powered by springs and gears. But the 20th century brought a new kind of revolution, the quartz revolution. You've probably seen the word quartz on a watch. Here's how it works. Quartz is a crystal that has a fascinating property called piezoelectricity. If you apply an electric voltage to a tiny, tuning fork-shaped quartz crystal, it vibrates at an incredibly precise and stable frequency, specifically 32,768 times per second. A small battery in the watch provides the power. A microchip counts these vibrations, and after it counts 32,768 of them, it sends a single electrical pulse to a motor that moves the second hand forward one tick. This was a monumental leap in accuracy. A good mechanical watch might be accurate to within a few seconds a day. A standard quartz watch is accurate to within a few seconds a month. They were also much cheaper to produce, which is why most clocks and watches today are quartz-powered. So, problem solved, right? We have quartz, we have perfect time. Well, for you and me, yes. But for science, especially for fields like GPS, high-speed internet, and deep space exploration, even that isn't good enough. For that, we need to go atomic. Welcome to the cutting edge of timekeeping, the atomic clock. Now, this is where things get really cool. Atomic clocks don't use a swinging pendulum or a vibrating crystal. They use the atoms themselves as the timekeeping element. Specifically, they use the incredibly consistent wobble of an electron in an atom. Think of an atom, like a cesium-133 atom, as a tiny natural oscillator. When it's stimulated by a specific microwave frequency, its electrons jump between energy levels. The frequency that makes this jump happen is a fundamental and changing constant of nature. An atomic clock essentially locks a microwave generator to this exact atomic frequency. It then counts these oscillations. And how many are there? For the cesium atom, it's 9,192,631,770 oscillations per second. That's over 9 billion. In fact, this is now the official definition of what a second is. The second is no longer defined by the Earth's rotation, but by the behavior of a cesium atom. The accuracy of these clocks is staggering. A modern atomic clock is so precise it would lose or gain only 1 second over the course of about 300 million years. This incredible precision is what makes so much of our modern world possible. The GPS in your phone works by receiving signals from satellites, each of which has multiple atomic clocks on board. Your phone calculates its position by measuring the tiny differences in the arrival times of these signals. If those clocks were off by even a millionth of a second, your GPS location would be off by hundreds of meters. Every time you use Google Maps, you're using atomic time. So, from watching the sun rise, to dripping water, to swinging pendulums, to vibrating crystals, to the fundamental quantum dance of atoms, our journey to measure time has been a relentless pursuit of precision. We've gone from dividing the day into vague chunks to defining the second with a number so large it's hard to comprehend. It's a story of human ingenuity, our constant desire to understand and order the universe around us. And who knows what the future holds? Scientists are already working on next-generation optical clocks that use even higher frequencies, promising accuracy that would make today's atomic clocks look like sundials. What do you think is the most fascinating part of this story? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through time, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of science and technology. See you in the next one.